Let me issue a warning. This is an artificial intelligence created video. Some information may not be exactly accurate. Be responsible by consuming this content and take it with a critical eye.
Pensions are supposed to be our safety net. They're supposed to be there for us when we retire. But for many, that promise is starting to look shaky. That's because we're in the middle of a pension crisis. The problem is simple. There's not enough money to pay everyone what they were promised. People are living longer, meaning they collect pensions for longer. Birth rates are down, meaning fewer workers are paying into the system. This is a recipe for disaster. Imagine a bathtub. Water flows in from a tap. That's contributions. It flows out through a drain. That's pensions being paid. If more water flows out than in, the bathtub runs dry. That's the pension crisis in a nutshell. We're staring down the barrel of a massive financial problem. Millions of retirees rely on these pensions. If they fail, the consequences will be devastating. This isn't just some abstract economic theory. This is about real people's lives.
So, how did we get into this mess? Well, it's a combination of factors. Firstly, we're living longer. Medical advancements mean we're sticking around for longer, which is great, except when it comes to pensions. Longer lives mean more years of collecting those sweet, sweet pension checks. Secondly, birth rates are plummeting. Fewer babies today mean fewer workers tomorrow. That means fewer people paying into the system to support retirees. It's like trying to build a house with fewer and fewer bricks each year. Finally, we can't ignore the role of financial mismanagement. Some pension funds made risky investments that didn't pan out. Others simply didn't put enough money aside. It's like going on a shopping spree with your retirement fund and ending up with nothing but buyer's remorse. This combination of factors has created the perfect storm, leaving us teetering on the brink of a pension crisis.
Here's the thing about traditional pensions. They're based on a promise. You work for a certain amount of time, contribute a portion of your income, and in return you're promised a fixed income for life after you retire. Sounds great, right? Except this promise relies on a delicate balance. It assumes a steady stream of contributions from current workers to pay for the pensions of retirees. It's like a giant game of financial musical chairs, and right now, the music is slowing down. The problem is the assumptions underpinning this promise are crumbling. People are living longer, throwing off the actuarial calculations. Birth rates are declining, shrinking the pool of contributors. The ground beneath this promise is shifting and the cracks are starting to show. This isn't to say that all pensions are doomed, but it does highlight the inherent fragility of a system that relies on a constantly growing workforce and predictable lifespans. The reality is those days are long gone. Now, some people draw a comparison between traditional pensions and Ponzi schemes. Before you grab your pitchforks, hear me out. A Ponzi scheme promises high returns, but pays old investors with money from new investors. It works as long as new money keeps flowing in. When it stops, the whole thing collapses. Pensions aren't designed to be fraudulent like Ponzi schemes, but they share a similar structural vulnerability. They depend on a continuous influx of new contributors to fund the payouts for existing retirees. If the number of contributors falls short due to an aging population or shrinking workforce, the system faces a cash crunch. This is exactly the situation many pension funds are facing today. Just like a Ponzi scheme, the system becomes unsustainable when the inflow can no longer support the outflow.
When promises turn to dust. Okay, enough with the abstract explanations. Let's talk about the real-world impact of this pension crisis. Imagine you're a retired teacher. You dedicated your life to educating the next generation, diligently paying into the pension system. Now, you're retired, relying on that pension to make ends meet. Suddenly you receive a letter. The pension fund is running out of money. Your monthly checks will be slashed. This isn't some dystopian fantasy. This is the reality facing millions of people. In Detroit, after the city declared bankruptcy, retirees saw their pensions cut by up to 40%. In Illinois, the state faces over $130 billion in unfunded pension liabilities. These aren't just numbers on a balance sheet. These are real people, teachers, firefighters, police officers, who are being denied the financial security they were promised. The human cost of this crisis is real, and it's devastating.
Navigating the minefield potential solutions. So how do we fix this mess? It's a complex problem with no easy answers, but here are some potential solutions. Increase contributions. One option is to increase the amount of money current workers contribute to the system. This would provide more funds to cover future obligations. However, it could also place a financial burden on younger generations. Raise the retirement age. Another option is to gradually raise the retirement age. This would allow people to contribute for longer and collect pensions for a shorter period. But this could be unpopular, especially for those in physically demanding jobs. Reduce benefits? This is the most drastic option and politically unpopular, but it involves reducing the amount of money retirees receive each month. This would stretch existing funds further, but it would also mean breaking promises made to current and future retirees. Invest more aggressively. Some argue that pension funds need to invest more aggressively to generate higher returns. However, this comes with greater risk, and a market downturn could exacerbate the problem. These are just a few potential solutions, each with its own set of pros and cons. The reality is, there's no silver bullet. Addressing this crisis will likely require a combination of approaches, each tailored to the specific circumstances of each pension fund.
Shared responsibility, a multi-pronged approach. Fixing the pension crisis won't be easy. It's going to require a multi-pronged approach, with shared responsibility from everyone involved. Governments need to make tough decisions. They need to ensure pension funds are adequately funded and managed responsibly. This might involve raising taxes, cutting spending, or exploring innovative funding mechanisms.
Employers, particularly those offering defined benefit pension plans, need to be realistic about their ability to meet their obligations. This might involve negotiating with unions to adjust benefits or exploring alternative retirement savings plans. Individuals also need to take responsibility. This means saving for retirement early and often, diversifying their investments, and being realistic about their retirement income needs. The pension crisis is a shared problem, and it demands a shared solution. It's time to move beyond blame and finger-pointing and work together to find a path forward.
The pension crisis is not a problem we can afford to ignore. The stakes are simply too high. If we fail to act, millions of retirees face the prospect of seeing their pensions slashed, their retirement dreams shattered. This could plunge countless seniors into poverty, straining social safety nets and healthcare systems. Moreover, a full-blown pension crisis could trigger a broader economic downturn. The stock market could take a hit as investors lose confidence in pension funds. Businesses could face higher taxes or pressure to contribute more to underfunded plans. The longer we wait to address this issue, the more difficult and costly the solutions become. We need to act now while we still have time to avert a catastrophe.
Looking ahead, the pension crisis presents both challenges and opportunities. On the one hand, the aging population and shrinking workforce will continue to put pressure on traditional pension systems. We need to be prepared for a future where defined benefit plans become increasingly rare. On the other hand, this crisis has sparked a much-needed conversation about retirement security. It has forced us to confront the shortcomings of our current systems and explore new and innovative approaches. We're seeing a growing trend towards defined contribution plans where individuals have more control over their retirement savings. We're also seeing a push for greater financial literacy, empowering individuals to make informed decisions about their financial futures. The pension crisis is a wake-up call. It's a reminder that we can't rely solely on traditional systems to secure our financial futures. We need to be proactive, informed, and prepared for a future where retirement security is increasingly in our own hands.
The pension crisis is a complex and multifaceted issue. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the problem. But here's the thing. We cannot afford to be paralyzed by inaction. The time for complacency is over. The time for action is now. This is not just a problem for governments and policymakers to solve. This is a problem that affects all of us, young and old, rich and poor. We all have a stake in ensuring that current and future generations can retire with dignity and financial security. We need to demand action from our elected officials. We need to hold them accountable for making responsible decisions about our retirement security. We need to educate ourselves and our loved ones about the importance of saving for retirement.
The pension crisis is a serious problem, but it's not insurmountable. By acknowledging the issue, understanding its root causes, and exploring viable solutions, we can find a path forward. This will require a collective effort. Governments, businesses, and individuals all need to play their part. We need to act with urgency, but also with wisdom and foresight. This is about more than just balancing budgets or protecting bottom lines. It's about upholding a promise of dignity and security for those who have worked hard and contributed to society. We need to remember that behind every statistic, every actuarial table, are real people with real lives and real dreams for the future. We owe it to them and to ourselves to find a solution to this crisis before it's too late.